The yellow jersey, the maillot jaune, this is the big one. It goes to the overall race leader, the rider with the lowest combined time across every stage. Add up every second a rider has spent on the bike from the start of the tour to right now, and whoever has the smallest number wears yellow the next day. Win it in Paris and you've won the Tour de France itself. Everything else is a race within the race, but this one is the race. The color has a disputed origin. The tour was created in 1903 by a newspaper called Lotto, printed on yellow paper, so organizers reached for their own brand color. But historians push a second theory just as hard, that yellow was simply the only color the maker could supply, an unpopular, unwanted color nobody else had ordered in the post-war shortage. Either way, the first yellow jersey was handed out in 1919. It's also the most valuable shirt in cycling. Sponsor LCL reportedly pours around 10 million euros a year into it, pays the leader a daily rent for wearing it, and hands him a small plush lion every single day. Because the bank was born in Lyon, and Lyonnais sounds like lion, the record is a four-way tie at 5 wins each. Anquetil, Merckx, Hinault, and Indurain. One quirk, nobody wears yellow on day one, because nobody has led yet. The green jersey, the maillot vert. If yellow is for the fastest overall, green is for the most consistent at the finish line. It's the points jersey, almost always won by a sprinter. The higher you finish on each stage, the more points you score, and the flat mass sprint stages are worth the most of all. There are also intermediate sprints partway through each stage. Added up, most points wears green. It rewards a completely different athlete. A sprinter might never come close to winning the tour overall, but on a flat finishing straight, he can hit nearly 45 miles an hour and beat everyone to the line. Green was introduced in 1953 on the tour's 50th anniversary, and the color came from the original sponsor, which sold lawnmowers. Except the color isn't even fixed. For one single year, 1968, the jersey was red to match a different sponsor before snapping back to green the year after. The record is 7, held by Peter Sagan, who owned the competition for most of the 2010s. The polka dot jersey, the maillot à pois, white with red dots, the most recognizable jersey in the race, and the origin everyone repeats is wrong. The story you'll hear is that the dots came from a chocolate sponsor's polka-dotted wrapper, except no such wrapper has ever been found. Researchers went looking and it doesn't exist. The likelier truth? Race director Félix Levitan borrowed the design from a pre-war French track sprinter nicknamed Little P, who had himself copied the loud-spotted silks of English horse racing jockeys, patterns jockeys wore so gamblers could pick them out from across the track, from a racecourse to a velodrome to the highest mountains in France. The jersey goes to the best climber, the king of the mountains. Every significant climb is categorized by how brutal it is. Category 4 is the easiest, rising to Category 1, and above all of them sits horse category, beyond categorization, for the monsters so steep and so long they're off the scale. First riders over the top score points. The harder the climb, the more on offer. The climbing competition dates back to 1933, but the dots didn't appear until 1975. The record is 7, held by French climber Richard Virenque. The white jersey, the maillot blanc, same rules as yellow, with one restriction. It goes to the fastest rider overall who is under 26, calculated exactly like the general classification, just limited to the young guns, a spotlight on the next generation, and often a preview of who's about to dominate the sport. It first appeared in 1968 for a different competition, became the Young Rider Prize in 1975, then hit a strange gap. Between 1989 and 1999, the classification still existed, but no jersey was awarded. So some famous young winners of that era never physically wore it. Jan Ullrich won the Young Rider competition 3 years running in the late 90s without ever pulling on the white jersey. It came back for good in the year 2000, when a new sponsor wanted more shirts to brand. The combination jersey, the maillot combiné. This one is history because it doesn't exist anymore. It went to the rider who performed best across all the other classifications at once, an all-rounder prize for the most complete cyclist in the race. The look was unforgettable, and not in a good way. A patchwork stitched from pieces of every other jersey. A panel of yellow, a panel of green, a panel of polka dots, a panel of white, even a red panel. People called it the Technicolor jersey, and riders either loved it or were embarrassed to wear it. It was introduced in 1968, and by the late 1980s the tour had too many competitions, and organizers worried it pushed riders to race flat out constantly. So at the end of 1989, a new race director cut it, and it never came back. The red jersey, the maillot rouge. Here's one most fans have never heard of because it was scrapped before many of them were born. The red jersey belonged to the intermediate sprints classification, nicknamed the points chauds, French for hot points. There was once an entire separate competition built around just those mid-stage sprints, completely apart from the green jersey at the finish. The classification ran from 1966, and from 1984, the leader wore a dedicated red jersey. The most successful rider in red was the Irish star Sean Kelly, but it had the same problem as the combination jersey, too many overlapping contests crowding the race, so it died in the same purge at the end of 1989. The points from those mid-stage sprints didn't disappear, though. They got folded into the green jersey, where they still count today.